Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today. It's a wonderful day outside, but I'm glad that you decided to come inside to be part of this once again.
So are we.
Good. So, we've got sort of a dual meeting going on today. I'm going to finish up in the second half of the meeting with last month's presentation, and it'll be focused primarily on iPhone, iPad software and ways to help speed things up. Paul, right here, is going to have a chat today with us about Minimal Lightroom USB MIDI controller that he is using and show off some tips and tricks about that. We're going to start off our meeting with a question and answer. If anyone has any questions they'd like to pose to the group, please step up to the microphone. Oh, Mr. Calvin Carson will walk to you. If you run away, he'll have to follow you. But he will come to you so you can ask your question using our wireless mic that seems to be a little more reliable. So if anyone has any questions, please raise your hand or stand up where you're at, and Calvin will come to you. Right. So the video app on the phones and on the iPads has been changed, and it now says TV. Okay. Some of the changes that are in there allow you access to your movies that you've purchased, TV shows that you've purchased, and to access that stuff if you are flying, that content needs to be downloaded on that device before you take off. So a lot of people will get to the airport, oh, I got all these movies I can watch. I'll pick this one. The catch is if it's not already on the device, you have to put it there. And to put it there, you would do that by connecting the device through iTunes and then syncing up the content that you want to watch while you're up in the air. Some people have tried to download the movies through the airplane Wi-Fi, and that does not work very well. The point behind them changing the app where that content isn't on your device is to free up room on your device, because a lot of people have small capacity of storage, and so in one effort to make more room so people can take more pictures or videos, whatever they're doing with their device, that's why the app was modified the way it was.
On the plot that I had, did you see some of the little cloud with the arrow pointing down?
Which means it's not on your device.
Right. So when I was on my flight, I downloaded it.
Okay.
I went to access it. It said I couldn't find it.
Right, so when you downloaded it, did it finish completely downloading first?
It was Zoom, so
okay.
The little circle finished.
Perfect.
Said, yeah.
Okay. When you...
I'm sure I've done something wrong, that's why I'm asking.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily you did something wrong, it's that there's something different than what you're used to.
Right.
My understanding is if you want to access that content while you're up in the air, you need to start that content before you get up in the air while you're still on Wi-Fi.
Oh, okay.
And that seems to be the magic trick. If you just start it and stop it, it then has made the authorization that, yes, you can view this on this device and go from there. And then once you do that, then when you're up in the air, you're off and you're going. It's supposed to, because you downloaded it to there,
Right.
it still wants that authorization when you start it.
Okay.
If you had put that from the computer to the device, that should have allowed you to then just start playing it.
Right. I did load it.
Yes?
If you have a home network, a wireless home network, do you need one of those, an Apple TV or a Chromecast or one of those connecting devices in order to stream from your computer program or something to your smart TV?
Yes.
You can't go direct from your computer wirelessly to the TV without that?
Correct.
Well, you need something to receive it on the other end.
Right. Yeah. So you need, say, an Apple TV, so you can then sync it or point it to your library on your computer, part of the home sharing, So then you can access that data that lives here and then show it up on the television screen.
Okay, your router does not provide that function?
It does not.
There are some TVs that have a Chromecast built in and do it now, but that's, you still need something in the TV to receive that.
Right. And that,
You
if,
use a router.
The router doesn't know.
the router won't handle that for you. The only way to get it straight from the computer to the TV without having a separate device would be having an HDMI cable connected to the computer to the television.
Hardwired.
Yeah, you'd be hardwired. If you want to be wireless, that's the whole, I think the whole point of the Apple TV is you don't have to plug in that line or buy that 20-foot HDMI cord to plug up to the television. You can just do it all right through the Apple TV because the interface will work with your computer through iTunes to bring that content over. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you.
From whomever that is.
Right.
And to eliminate what is called a DRM.
Right, so what you're doing is, DRM is on the videos because of the movie studios. Because they don't want you to burn it to a DVD, because they don't want you to then suddenly start making hundreds of DVDs of their movie and selling them for $5.
Yeah,
So that's-
moot, because you can get the $45.
Right,
Okay?
but that's the point behind it. So the movies that you purchase through iTunes, they're expecting it to live in a digital format on your computer, on your phone, or in your iTunes history. Your iTunes history will show every movie, every TV show, every song that you've ever purchased under that ID. So it's tied to you, so that way they know whose it is.
In your 70-inch TV set.
I understand what you're saying. So I have a movie on my phone.
Yeah, it's-
I can put it on my 70-inch TV set, but that's because I have an Apple TV hooked up to it. And I can stream it from here to the TV through the Apple TV via AirPlay. So whatever I've got on here will go up to there. So that's the workaround. The movies,
Hook up an HDMI cable.
or you can hook up an HDMI cable from the TV to your computer or to your iPad or iPhone with the right dongle attached to it. And then you could also stream it that way if you wanted to.
Right.
No,
Because I can't get into that.
that's a different password.
Well, I use
So-
all passwords.
Okay. The password to unlock your phone, they switched it from a 4-digit code to a 6-digit code, or you can use an alphanumeric code on that as well. You can make it as hard as you want it to be.
I have no-
Yeah. But the whole point behind that is the 4-digit code has 10,000 combinations. A 6-digit code has 1,000,000. So that's why they went to the 6-digit. A lot of people say, I don't want 6 digits. You don't have to have 6 digits. You can have 4. Because if you go into passcode and go to change your passcode, a little thing will pop up, or when you're setting the phone up, and it's called passcode options. If you tap on that, you can choose to have no passcode at all, or you can choose to make it a 4-character passcode at that point. So your Apple
I
ID,
didn't make that, and it just sort of exists now.
so your Apple ID, which is an email address for all intents and purposes, is what is associated you with Apple. Your passcode for that Apple ID can be used in iCloud, it can be used in iTunes, it can be used in the App Store if you're using the same Apple ID in all 3 things. So that one passcode allows you to have access to those 3 different services through there. If you update it on one, it wants you to update it on the other one. So if in iCloud you changed your password because you wanted something more secure, when you go into iTunes, it's going to pop up and say, hey, we need you to put your passcode in, because it wants everything to be on the same level. It won't remember the old one anymore because you've updated it. Well, that's where we're going to have a great meeting in a few months about password managers, and I think you're going to be really interested in that one. Okay, thank you. So they gave you a special code to use in the App Store. You entered the code, and it would not download. What version of Pages was on the computer before? Any?
I think it was part of the iWorks package.
Okay.
I think it was 6 or 9.
Okay, so if it was 6, that would explain why it didn't do it. If it was 9, then it should have picked up and gone from there because it is looking for an older version, but not 6.
All right, but that version of Pages is automatically partitioned for 10.8. not
Okay.
10.11.
Right,
Should I install it on?
Yes.
10.11?
install it in 10.11. You've got the disk still, I'm assuming.
Even though it's iWorks, not strictly Pages.
Yeah, it's still technically the same thing. If you put that version on there, then try to put the code in, I bet you it'll work. If not, contact AppleCare back. Yeah, and let them know about the troubles that you're having with it.
All right.
Okay? All right, awesome. All right, so she's gonna go to Belgium, do one of the riverboat things,
Right.
have a really wonderful time. Sounds like a great way to go. She's got an iPhone 6S, you said?
Yeah, or plus, whatever.
Okay, so she's got an iPhone. So when she is over there, she has 2 options. She can turn off the cellular and just use Wi-Fi, and she can do her text messages via the Wi-Fi, or she can stop at any of the cellular stores that are over there and ask for a SIM card. She can purchase a SIM card over there that'll get her service for like 30 days. It'll give her so many minutes and so much data as well. She can pop her SIM card out, pop that one in, and your miles may vary, may work. Because she's a Sprint customer, and that's the only reason I'm saying it may work. If she had a Verizon phone, it would work all day. If she had an AT&T or a T-Mobile phone, swap that SIM, she's good to go. Sprint, on the other hand, if her phone is still locked to Sprint, she may have issues. If she wants to make her life real easy, I would say have her contact Sprint, see if Sprint will unlock her phone for her since she's traveling overseas, because the rate per minute for phone calls overseas, I believe starts at $10 to $15 a minute and goes up from there. So if she's checking email on her data plan,
Well,
it gets expensive.
they have prepaid plans for international travel.
Right.
You can look into that too. Sprint
Right.
has them, they all have.
And so that's an option for her. If she doesn't want to spend the money with her carrier for the prepaid plan for while she's traveling, I would just say pop the SIM card out, turn off cellular, and just use Wi-Fi, because there's Wi-Fi all over the place there. And so if she needs to text message someone, she can pick up a Wi-Fi spot in a restaurant, at a hotel, on the boat, and then be able to
Well, you don't
Send
want
it
to
up
take the
quick.
SIM card out because then it will bitch at you constantly that there's no SIM card.
well, right,
You will constantly be getting a pop-up saying.
right, no SIM installed, right,
So don't take the SIM card out.
right. But you turn off roaming, just turn off cellular completely.
Well, she did speak with the travel agent, he said there would be places over.
Have her talk to the carrier, not the travel agent. Because the travel agent doesn't want to help her with her phone. They want to book her that trip over there, and they want to upgrade her into a nicer cabin. They're not going to give her the assistance that I think she truly needs, and that's going to come from her carrier.
The other part of that is that I didn't think her phone had a SIM card because it.
All the phones have SIM cards in them. Whether you're a CDMA customer, which is Sprint or Verizon, or whether you're a GSM customer. It's on the side of the phone. You never look at it. Right there. There's a little hole. Take your case
Oh,
off.
I see.
And so if you do that, that's where your SIM card goes. So the GSM phones need that SIM card all the time for making a phone call. CDMA phones just need it for activation purposes. And like Jack said, if you pop it out, it will annoy the heck out of you that it's missing.
Incessantly.
Yeah,
Yes.
if she decides to pop it out, tell her to put it in the same place. It's a little bitty guy.
Yeah.
Lose it really easy.
A Ziploc bag kept in her luggage would be smart. Yep. We took our daughter on a cruise for high school graduation to Key West, Mexico and that. And the Starbucks store, besides being popular for coffee, had the strongest Wi-Fi down in Cozumel. And she did all her texting and all her updating at that point because Wi-Fi on the boat was like $15 a day. And it was dial-up speed. So depending on where you're going, ask them about what's the Wi-Fi like, okay?
The problem is just difficult.
Okay, so thank you very much for all these questions. It was great to have this many questions this month. We are going to turn the show over to Paul here. So, are you almost ready?
I'm ready.
Okay,
We got to plug in.
we will do that.
So while we're plugging in, how many Lightroom users do we have here? Raise your hand.
Can you please put the microphone?
Oh, I'm sorry. How many Lightroom users do we have here? Raise your hand. Okay. So primarily this is for you guys. A while back, I belonged to a photography Facebook group, and somebody posted some information about a Kickstarter campaign for a device to control Lightroom stuff. And somebody came back with a post that said, well, you know, that thing already exists. And so I was intrigued by that, and I followed the link that somebody had, and I dug into this thing, and I found this thing called, well, in this case it's called Minimal. I assume that's how they pronounce it. They have other devices, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But it's basically a Lightroom controller. It's a MIDI. Let me just go down. What is this thing? So Minimal. This is the Minimal device. It plugs in by USB, MIDI USB inside here, and it uses pFixer software, which is available from pusherlabs.com, as well as the controller, to allow Lightroom control function through the controller instead of the sliders and whatnot within Lightroom. And what that does for you is basically allows you to just, with hands on, you got 5 fingers, right? You know, when you use your mouse and the sliders, you got one hand, you control one slider at a time. With this thing, you can control multiple things either at the same time or at least immediately thereafter, thereby basically allowing you to move the, to control the thing quickly. And so what it does, when I shoot an event, like last night I shot a bar mitzvah. I shot 1,600 images. Well, the client's only going to get 3, 4, maybe 500 of those images. I've got to go through those 1,600 and cull them down to a manageable number. Of the ones that I keep, and deliver, I've got to make some adjustments: crop, straighten, color correct, exposure correct, contrast correct, whatever. You can do that all here with basically with your fingers and do it quickly. So I'll do a little demonstration, but let me go through the presentation here. So the first item I pretty much covered, we've got a controller. It's a MIDI controller, by the way. Everybody know what MIDI is? It's a musical instrument digital interface. Goes back, I don't know, how long has MIDI been around? 30 years? Longer than
Yeah.
that. So,
A long
the cool thing about this controller, Pusher Labs is the company that put all this together. The controller itself is a Behringer controller. Behringer has been in the MIDI controller business for forever. They make a whole range of MIDI controllers. So what Pusher Labs did is took a couple of different ones that they offer, took them, created the software to remap it to control Lightroom as opposed to controlling a musical instrument. So the hardware is off-the-shelf hardware. They put a label on it to relabel what the different controls are, and you can buy it from them, and we'll cover that in the next slide in a second. But the controller itself is production. Pusher Labs doesn't produce the controller. They will sell it to you. They do sell it to you. You can buy it on your own also. Their main thing though is the software, and the software is called pFixer. So there are other, as I mentioned, there are other controllers available. A Behringer BCF 2000, which is a larger one. I'll show you in a second. There's a BCR 2000 and a new one that they just came out with called Pluto. I don't know anything about it. It comes up on their website. So I ended up chose to go with the Minimal. I was thinking about the Behringer one, but it's a massive. It's about the size of your laptop. It does require external power. It's not at all portable. Portability isn't a big thing, but I don't need this other big thing on my desk. It's got motorized sliders. It's kind of cool actually, but it's a massive device that I wasn't interested in. So this thing intrigued me. So anyway, the bottom line is that it does speed up your processing time, puts controls at your fingertips. The key to this, making this thing work though is, I think the term is muscle memory. You've got to learn it. It's not intuitive. It's somewhat intuitive, but you have to learn. You want to be able to control the thing while you're looking at your screen and just do it without even looking down at the controller. And that takes time. You know, it's not something that you're going to just pick up and use and just be at full speed. There's a learning curve to it. That's one of the downsides, but once you learn it, it's beautiful. The other thing it allows you to do is you can remap any of the controls to anything you want. So for example, I don't even know what this used to be, but in fact, let me go through this real quick, and we'll go to the other side. So I want to cover cost because that's the thing that everybody wants to know first, first and center. What's the cost? So these are all bundles. The bundle is both the controller and the software. So the minimal bundle is $180, which I think is a pretty good deal. The Pluto, which again, I don't know anything about the Pluto, it's a new device that they just came out with, is also $180. And then the Extremist, which I'm not sure which Behringer controller it is. It's much larger than what it shows on the screen here, but that's $480. So unless you're really serious into this, big time, where you got money to burn, you know, maybe that's for you, but wasn't for me. So let's go to the controller itself. So the controller is, like I say, it's fairly small, fairly simple. It's got 8 rotary encoders on top, so they turn. Those encoders also have push buttons on them. So you've got essentially analog, I'm sure it's digital, but it's effectively analog control by turning it, and then push button control by pushing on it. You've got 16 buttons that do various things. We'll show you those in a minute. And then it's got a layer button that basically puts, essentially you've got the controller in 2 separate layers. So on layer A, you've got 1 set of controls. Layer B transforms all of these controls into a whole nother set. So for every button, you've got at least 2 different potential controls for each encoder or button. And then in layer B, you've got some sub-layers where these 4 buttons on the right, if you push one of those, depending on which one you push, you'll get another set layer within layer B. I don't personally use that because that's a lot of buttons to push, but if you end up being a power user, you can certainly do that. So here are the layer A functions. I am not going to read through all these. The point of showing you this is to give you an idea that you can pretty much control anything within Lightroom. Layer A is the one that I use the most to cover exposure, contrast, black shadows, highlights, lights, clarity, and vignette. That's my primary layer. The encoder button press, so for example, the first one there on the left is white balance, so it's the white balance picker. So if you click it, you'll get the little symbol that tells you where to pick your white balance. You use your mouse to do that, and then you're done. Auto white balance is another one, and then auto tone. Those first 3 are really good for that. Layer B, I use a lot of layer B for, it turns, well, I should talk about layer B yet, because we're still on layer A. The buttons, we've got escape, enter, copy, paste, sync, match, select left, select right, all these various things. It's really critical. Yeah.
Is there like a cheat sheet that's on the MIDI that tells you like what?
Yes.
I can't
Yeah. So the label on here basically has yes, there is a cheat sheet. It's not great. It doesn't necessarily, it shows you layer A and layer B, but it's kind of coded. You have to learn the code, and the documentation will, tells you what that is. But there's not a lot of room on here to put all the functions, so they kind of code it. So that, for example, there's a red dot, a yellow, orange dot, yellow dot. Those are, you have to know that, for example, that might be a saturation layer, in which case you're controlling red saturation and orange saturation. So you have to kind of learn what those are. But there is some cheat sheet on it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So there is some of that. Layer B is handy. I use, again, I have to tell you, I'm not an expert at this. I've learned what I've learned pretty much on my own. I've seen guys in some of the YouTube videos use them, and they're just hammering away, and they're doing all kinds of stuff. I'm probably not there yet. I've only had this thing for about 2 months. And,
Yeah, you mentioned that earlier in your presentation, and I kind of glossed over, but I wanted to that this device was originally purposed for audio, but it was pre-programmed
Yes.
for. So can it still be applied dual use for like?
Sure.
So you can have that device and use it for audio and also
Sure. The physical hardware, the box itself, is just a MIDI control. It doesn't know anything about what you're controlling with it is through the software. So if you're going to use it as a MIDI controller, I don't know MIDI controllers at all. I'm not a musical guy.
So basically, it's just the interface.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. You got the hardware, which is an off-the-shelf MIDI controller, and then you've got the software P-Fixer that goes with it. I assume that if
You're just downloading the software onto your computer.
yeah, well, when I bought this, I put an order into P-Fixer, or to Pusher Labs, and they sent me this, and I downloaded the software. So this comes from Pusher Labs, but you could just as easily buy one on eBay. The Behringer BCF 2000, for example, when I started going into this, I wasn't aware of this one. So I was looking for the Behringer, the BCF 2000, and I was looking on eBay for a used Behringer controller, which normally sells for $300 or $400, and I was trying to get one for under $200, and I failed, so I ended up found this and this.
You have to make your own labels if you buy one, then.
Yeah, you can. They do offer, I think for the Behringer, they make a template, a stick-on template that you can buy, but you can just easily make one yourself. You use little stickers on one. Yeah.
Software on there?
No, software is on your computer. I'll show you in a little bit. I'll be doing a demonstration. Okay. All right, so label B, I'm going to try and be quick. What I use label B, or layer B for, mostly is the first couple on the, right here. Temperature, tint, vibrance, that sort of thing, actually vibrance. Yeah, I'll use those. I use some of the others, but not a lot. Subfunctions, I mentioned before, there are some subfunctions within layer B that gives you an additional 4 layers. This is where, if you're using these layers, you're getting pretty deep into your image. I mean, you're starting to control luminance and hue, various colors, saturation, whatnot. I don't use that. In fact, I haven't used it at all. Could, but I don't tend to edit that deep. So my review of it, I'll give you a few of my quick takes on it. It's easy to get started, as I mentioned, but it takes quite a bit of time to learn it. To develop the muscle memory, and I'm still not quite there. The documentation is somewhat sparse. There is online documentation, but it's not, it's not step by step. It doesn't tell you exactly how to do everything. They'll use terms that they don't define. They call it like CC. I don't know what the hell a CC is. It's got something to do with MIDI, but I don't know anything about MIDI, so I don't know what a CC is. And they keep talking about CC numbers. Great, thanks for telling me that. It is sometimes slow to respond. There are some tips in the documentation to help you with that. They tell you to build smart previews. I don't really know what a smart preview is. I know they're there. And if you do that, you're supposed to you're supposed to take your regular previews and put them in a separate folder because it's the previews that slow things down. So it can be a little slow sometimes to respond. When you start the software, it does what's called binding. What it's basically doing is connecting the hardware to Lightroom. I get a lot of binding errors. I've just recently figured out that the way to avoid, and binding errors are not a big deal, it's just that they're annoying. You tell them to just go away and it goes away, but it's annoying when you launch it and you get an error. I've recently figured out that if you launch P-Fixer after you've launched Lightroom and you're in the develop module, then you don't get those errors. So that's what I've learned. It does have some strange behavior at times. Occasionally you'll go to turn a knob just a little bit to make a small adjustment and the damn thing will slide all the way over to one side. And now you're totally in the weeds. That happens occasionally and rarely. I have no idea why. Once mastered, I mean, I did last night. I started working, I got home around midnight and started processing images from that day. And I actually, because I was still building previews and doing some other stuff, I couldn't use minimal, so I was using the old approach with the mouse and whatever. And then after a few minutes, I went back to using the minimal. And I could tell immediately the speed at which you can get through images is a good 25 to 50%, depending on, I'm not measuring it, but it's definitely noticeable. And then you can get, I don't know why that's underlined, but pusherlabs.com is the website for all this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, on that, the website is pusherlabs.com.
Yeah. Yep. And the first thing that'll come up is their Pluto device, which I don't know anything about. It's their newest device.
Is there a reason that Pusher is a tablet device?
I'm sorry?
Is there a reason why?
I just wanted it to stand out as a website and not just words. as a formatting.
Jim?
So if I understand, for a particular job you do it, you might decide that I didn't like the default sharpening that you get.
Mhm.
I forget what it's called, Lightroom.
Mhm.
There's some jobs that I put about 42 or 43 on almost all the pictures for a particular set because it's just not quite sharp and contrasty enough.
Yeah.
So if I understand, I can program with the knob and the button, so that when I push that button, I get.
No, this is not about presets. So I think what you're talking about there is more of a preset, where you would make a setting and then you would hit a button and it would apply that as a preset. This doesn't do that. You can change the sharpening, but you would do it by rotating the knob
Well,
on that
if
interval.
I picked a number, I just.
It doesn't do that.
The other comment is that if you buy a retail controller, you need a Windows application to configure it.
Okay.
So
Yeah. I mean, you can buy this separately and just buy the software from them. Yeah. Yes, sir.
If you don't, let's say you don't have Lightroom, but you decide that you might want to buy or try it. The fact is, does it work with the software that comes from Apple for your pictures?
No. You can check with them and see, but right now
Don't
it's
think it-
designed specifically for Lightroom. The software binds it to Lightroom. As far as I know, it doesn't bind it to something else. You can check with them on their website, but I doubt it. Okay. So I was going to do a live demonstration for you real quick.
Back to Lightroom, you know,
Sorry?
original
I don't know. You'd have to check it on the website and see. You should get the Creative Cloud. That's, he asked how far back, what version of Lightroom, how far
I believe
back
it's
you
5.
go.
I think I read 5.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm on CC, so I don't know. I'm sure their website will tell you. But, yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and launch Lightroom. And I want to make this fairly quick. I pulled a set of images from a bat mitzvah that I did actually here in this room last fall. So I figured I would do that. So here Lightroom is launched. And I'm going to go to the first image and make it big. And we're in the develop module. So I have pFixer set up on my dock down here. You can see that. And we'll just launch that. And what you'll see is it takes about 10-15 seconds to see the pFixing Lightroom bar at the top. It's working on binding. And with any luck, it will bind successfully. Looks like it will. Binding complete. So we're all set. So here's my first image. I looked at this image and I don't know, does anybody see something here that stands out as being a problem?
Washed up.
Okay, so it's a little bit overexposed, maybe the highlights. So I took the first knob as exposure, just turn the exposure down a little bit. We take the highlights. I was going to take a file and actually put a couple of notches in some of these knobs so that I can feel for them, but I hadn't done that yet. So the highlights, the forehead is a little bit highlighty. So we'll turn the highlights down a little bit. See that coming down. And that's something that for the forehead, I might do that separately. But no, actually, what I was thinking was temperature. It's a little warm. I have a tendency. What's your name?
Lou.
Lou. I was telling Lou earlier. I have a tendency to want, when I'm using Flash, I want to pull in some of the ambient light to kind of fill in. Flash tends to be very, it picks your subject and that's it. Anything behind it is dark. So I tend to want to pull in some of the ambient light. Unfortunately, when you do that, you get the orange from the room. So my pictures tend to start out a little warm. So for example, I click on layer B. If you recall, temperature was on the first encoder, but it's in layer B. So now we're on layer B, first encoder, and I would give it a little rotation, and boom. I would, is this perfect? No, but it's a whole lot better than it was a moment ago. Come back to layer A. I tend to want to pump up the contrast a little bit. My camera tends to be somewhat in RAW, tends to be a little bit flat. I also personally like a little bit of vignette, and I don't know. Probably could use a little crop, so we push the crop button. Now I've got for crop, I've got it mapped on here for the keys, but it turns out I got like 4 different keys or different knobs for crop, but it's just as easy to grab the mouse. So I might pull this in a little bit, tighten it up, give it an eye on the left thing, and hit enter, and boom, there we go. All right, so let's say that's my quick edit for that particular image. Now I've got something that I can deliver to the client, at least as a proof. All right, go to the next image, hit paste, boom, done. Go to the next one. Click paste previous. Paste previous. That one probably needs to be cropped out a little bit. So we come back here. It's also a little bit underexposed. We'll pump it up a little bit. Boom, done. Next one.
Remembering your settings?
Yes, it's pasting the previous settings. It's taking all the settings that I had from the previous image and pasting them. You know, is it perfect every time? No. Oops. I gotta do
So
that.
this is great for someone with carpal tunnel problems.
Probably.
Probably. Now, what I want you to notice is that if I were just in Lightroom, I'd be using my mouse and I'd be having to drag the mouse wherever. I'm using both my hands, right? And as a result, I'm able to just navigate incredibly quickly. And then once you learn the buttons, you know, this one's not cropped well, so we come here, straighten that out a little bit. Enter. Next one. The one thing I have to caution you, there's a few things you got to learn. So let's say, for example, I'm just going to horsing around here. I'm going to make her one-eyed. I'm going to take out one of her eyes. I just want to make a point. And I get it. It looks totally bizarre, right? The problem here is that if I paste previous, it's going to apply that whatever the hell that tool is, the clone, the healing tool, whatever. It's going to apply that to the next one. So it's going to take everything from the previous image when you paste previous. So you got to be careful with that. So in this case, I don't want that. So I'm going to go back to that particular item. I'm going to select on it. All right, because I really didn't want that. And I've caught myself. There have been a few times where I've done that. I'll take it's the Q number here. I forget what tool it is, but basically where you essentially can fix something. And I'll forget that I applied that. I'll go to the next image, and all of a sudden I'll find some artifact in the picture that's in the middle of somebody's forehead or something. What the hell is that? Oh, shoot, I forgot. You know, so you got to be smart about it. I lost my way here, so that is just too bizarre. Paste. Oops. That one is not great. Crop on that's all wrong. Straighten it. Don't particularly care for that white edge. So you get the idea. Not only you guys didn't notice that, but the slow to respond part, I just hit paste previous on that one, and I heard a little bang from the computer, basically saying, no, I'm sorry, I was busy doing something else. Didn't do it, didn't take, so I had to hit it again. That's the slow to respond side of things. Did you hear that?
No.
Okay, it just did it. You didn't hear it?
I did not hear it.
Wow, I got bad hearing, man.
Well.
Anyway, I didn't take it. So that one, I don't like the crop on that one because I really like the original crop. So we'll just undo that and hit enter. I will tell you, I swapped. By the way, I mentioned before, you can completely. It comes with a default mapping. You can change the mapping to whatever you want. So, for example, one of the things I did for I use we got the 5-star numbering system for favorites and whatnot. I do my own thing. Everybody can do what they want. Personally, what I do is if there's a keeper, I give it a 2. It's something that I'm probably going to give the client, I give it 2. I use the 3, 4, and 5 for other things. I use 1s for images that I'm going to ultimately keep but not give to the client. I might use them for editing later or whatever. Things that are unrated, I end up deleting, ultimately. Why am I telling this? Oh, because I set the upper right one, which is where my hand is over. I got my hands here anyway. I set this one for the 2-star bit. So as I'm going through these, you know, I'll paste previous. Oh, I like that one. I'll set it for 2. Boom, done. On to the next one. So, you know, these are turning out a little bit cold. I'm warming up a little bit. So I'm rotating the knob a bit. So we like that. We're going to hit it. Oops.
We're going to get a little closer to you.
So that's pretty much it. Like that. Like that. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
take one project and do it the traditional way that you did before you had this device, and now that you have that device, how much time, saving time, between the two?
I'd say it's 25 to 50%, depending. It's hard for me to really know. I used to take, if a typical job, I would edit somewhere, let's say 1,500 images. And keep in mind, what I do for my clients is different than what other photographers do, and what other photographers do is different than what another photographer does. People do different things. I basically, if I'm shooting 1,500 images at an event, sometimes 2,000, sometimes 3,000 at a wedding, my goal is to deliver them a set of usable images where every image I give them is usable. I don't give them pictures of the floor. I don't give them pictures of people with people's eyes closed. If I have to take, if I've got a group shot and in every one of those shots somebody has their eyes closed, I'll go through those whatever number of images and I'll create one and I'll fix the eyes on at least one so that they have one image and I'll give them that one. All right. So my goal is to get down to a usable set that I'm going to give my client. That's what I'm doing here. All right. Now they're not necessarily retouched. If somebody's got blemishes or whatever, I'm not going to go through 600 images and fix 600 blemishes. Bar mitzvah kids, for example, they tend to be a little pimply, right? I'm not going to go through and edit, retouch every single one of those images. And now if they want to make a print of one of them and they want to buy that print from me, I'll include retouching of that print. But it depends on what your goal is. So my goal is to cull whatever number I have down to the set that I'm going to give them. Those are the number 2 images, the 2-star rating images. Now, what I do is I'll star all these things as 2s, as keepers. Then I'll filter them to the 2s, and then I'll go through them again, and I'll turn a lot of the 2s into 1s, because I'm not going to give them a duplicate. I mean, if I have 2 images that are both good, but they're both the same thing, there's no point in giving them both. So I'll hit that and knock that one down to a 1, and I'll ultimately get it down to a manageable number. But that length of time, that your question was how long does that take? That takes anywhere from, it used to take me a minimum of 4 hours, probably more like 6, 7, or 8. Now I'm down to about 2 to 4 hours, depending. So it saves me a significant amount of time.
But definitely a 25%
Yeah,
reduction in time.
absolutely. For $180, it's priceless to me. I mean, and that's why I was so excited about it. That's why I decided to do it for a little presentation to make people aware. The thing is, I was totally unaware of this thing. It's been out there for some amount of time. I mean, I don't know how long, but I was totally unaware that this thing even existed. So when I stumbled upon it, for me, it was like a eureka, and it was great. So, any other questions?
I'm not a Lightroom user, so I'm just curious, are you working with raw images or?
Yes, yeah, I shoot raw. Yeah, I got a set of images from a potential client recently. I've had people come to me and say, hey, I got these JPEGs that my photographer I hired gave me, and they either kind of suck or the photographer's long gone and I want to do something with them. Can you go through them for me? And I will, and they're JPEGs. And I can tell you, though I'm very limited, particularly when it comes to color balance. It's very limited as what you can do with a JPEG. So I shoot strictly raw. The hard drive space is cheap these days, so it's.
Can you again, not knowing Lightroom, can you do multiple image or batch processing if you have like an overall color temperature or some correction you needed to apply?
Yeah, so you can. Yeah. The question was, can you do batch processing, modify multiple images at the same time? So let's say, for example, I'm going to paste previous system. Let's say I want to apply that process to the next number of images. The right button on the first row is select multiple. So you'll notice I'm selecting multiple, right? And then if I hit paste previous, it'll paste all of them. Right? At least it should. So all those images now would have, but for me, I'm not just doing paste and previous, I'm also culling, I'm also looking at it. One of the things I didn't mention, pick one image. Let's say I don't like that image, I've remapped the auto crop button, which I don't use. I don't let the computer do cropping for me. So there's an auto crop button that I don't use. I set it for the reject button. So I can immediately when I get an image, you know, I tested my camera, so I took a picture of the floor. Obviously, I don't want the image for anything, so I'll just set it for reject. Then when I'm done, I'll go through and delete all the rejects. I'm thinking about remapping that to one of the top buttons. Yeah,
Lightroom would have keyboard shortcuts for all these things. So the difference between what you're doing and just typing a keyboard shortcut in.
it's time. It's just the time it takes to move your fingers through the keyboard, think about what key that is, whatever. If you can get that mindset that all those buttons are, you know, one button presses on here, it's just much faster. And there aren't keyboard shortcuts for sliders. I mean, you can't. There's no keyboard shortcut for. Yeah, there's no keyboard shortcuts for that. Yeah, it's right here. Just turn the dial. You know, I can crank the exposure up or down. I can crank the contrast up or down. Blacks up or down. Shadows. By the way, I tend to be big on shadows. I love to pull stuff out of the shadows. That's one of my little shifts. By the way, everybody's got their own style of image that they ultimately want to see. You take 10 photographers and have them edit the same image, you'll get 10 different images. And I can also tell you that without processing, particularly in RAW, without processing, you don't have an image. I mean, you have to process a RAW image because it's just flat data. There's no punch to it at all. So you have to process. I mean, and I'm talking professionally here. I'm talking about if I'm doing a wedding, you know, wedding clients are expecting a high quality image. They're not expecting it comes right out of your camera. But they definitely have to be processed, and that's the time it takes. So I'm way past the 20 minutes I've left.
I told you, take your time.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Okay. Thank you very, very much. I'll give you that. Okay, so how hard was that?
It wasn't hard at all.
Okay, so you heard his words. So that means if someone else would like to do a presentation, whether it's a short one or a full meeting, we're open for that as well. It is scary at first, but then it gets real easy. Because you just have to remember,
You guys are friends.
you're among friends, not family. Family's different. Exactly. All right. So let me get myself all set up over here. So Apple is doing a number of iPad commercials. Some of them are on television. Some of them are not. Some of them are on the internet. And they're going after the market of moving people to iPads instead of having to use a computer. They are specifically targeting the PC market because your new iPads, for a lot of reasons, have more processing power than, say, a Windows-based laptop that's only a few years old. They're incredibly powerful, and I can see that that's where they were looking all along to get to. So, getting into this meeting. All right. So, I'm sorry. Yes, I am. I got a green line across the top of the screen. I should be good. So, on speeding up your iPhone or your iPad, these are some of the basic steps. 1, update your software. How many people, just by a show of hands, are on iOS 10.2.1?
Is that the latest?
That's the latest. Okay. How many people are on iOS 10? Not 10.2, but 10. Okay. Anybody on iOS 9? Yeah, okay. iOS 8. 7. 616. Okay, cool.
I think hardware limited affect most of this.
Right.
1.2.1
Yeah, there's a lot of folks that do have older devices that they can't upgrade to the latest and greatest. And when you point out to them that, well, you've had this for 4 years, the look on the face is typically, no, I just got this last year. Well, not unless last year was 2012. That's all right. A wood-burning iMac would be fine. So, with that being said, being up to date is just the easiest thing anybody can do to make their device run smoother. And then the other thing is making sure that all the apps that you have on your devices are up to date as well. I can't tell you how many times I see someone come in and they've got 30 or more updates in the App Store on their iPad or on their iPhone. And they're like, well, I don't know what that is. Well, it's telling you that there's an update for those programs. And to make those programs run more effectively, you need to run those updates. You can have it set up where it will automatically run updates for you, or you can just you can do it manually. Either way, there's a reason. Now in 10.2.1, when you open up an app, you may see a warning that says, this app may not run as well as it should, or affect battery life. That's Apple's way of telling the consumer that you need to nudge the app developer and let them know, hey, I like playing Words with Friends, but if this isn't going to run at the full potential that it should, maybe the developer needs a little nudge to update it. There are some older apps that I have found that are no longer being updated because the developer just doesn't have the interest in it or has moved on to other things. So, well, yeah, we'll try to, hopefully they haven't passed away, but that could be an option too. Next up, I'm sorry.
When that message pops up and it was saying running this software may slow down your iPhone, is that true?
Yes.
It knows.
Now, is it going to slow it down where it's unbearable to use? No. It really won't. But I think this is Apple's way of, if the consumer is telling the developer to update their app, because that message is for the consumer.
When it's slowing down your iPhone, is it only slowing it down when you're using that app, or if that app is open in the background?
It should be only while you're using the app. Could it be while it's in the background? Potentially. It could be using up battery life. That's your other side effect. And then speaking of apps, some of them take up a lot of space. There are some apps that are out there that are very tiny, and there's other ones that are okay size, and there's also some that are gigantic. If you're not using the app, dump it. You don't need to have it on there if you don't want to, if you're not going to use it. If you want to put it back on, you can. You can always go to the App Store under your purchase history, find what it is, tap the cloud icon, and put it back on your device. If you're looking for a way to free up space on your device, getting rid of apps you don't need is very helpful. I had one game on my iPhone. It was the Avengers game that came out when the Avengers movie came out. It used 2.1 gigabytes of space. I was stunned at how much space that it was using. But in addition to the game being a video game to play, it also had video clips from the movie, which explains why it was 2.1 gigabytes. Because, sound clips are not that bad. Video clips, on the other hand, 15-second video clip can be a lot. So I dumped that off my phone because I'm looking at it going, I'm starting to really run low on space and I don't get it. And so that was the biggest thing in finding some of the apps that were 500 megabytes or bigger. Just get rid of them. If you don't need them, you don't need to have it on there. So you can, in settings, you should be able to go down and see the size of the different applications. And it'll let you, that's how I found out the Avengers game was 2.1 gigabytes. And from there, swipe to the left, and you can delete it off the device, or you can press on the game, wait for the X and the wiggles to happen, and then delete it that way as well.
So the question is it listed in ones with the most and ones down? I mean, ones that are taking up...
You know, it should list with what is using the most at the top of the list, but I don't think it does. I think it puts them in alphabetical order.
Like shoe size.
Yeah, and then goes from there.
In iTunes, you can have that listed by size.
Yes, in iTunes.
Yes.
But if you're looking on your phone,
Right.
you are searching. Another thing,
It's in size order.
okay, perfect then.
And
Then,
it's under the general settings, memory usage, and you gotta put out about 6 levels.
okay. But it is in there. That's good. Another thing that I wasn't aware of, but was pointed out to me by someone, was clearing your browser cache out. By flushing it out, I don't know, once a month, every other month, that will allow to get you some space back in there. This would be on the iPhone or the iPad. This is on anything that's running the iOS software, even an iPod Touch.
Is there a way of controlling how much of the browser cache you release, either in terms of dates or whatever?
I am not aware of a way to control how much the browser cache will keep or flush out.
It'll just flush everything.
Yeah. Which is good and bad at the same time. So, but by doing that, that'll allow your browser to breeze. I know people that have not only Safari on their iOS device, but they will have Firefox. And I think Chrome has one up for the iOS devices as well. I don't use it. The one I do like, because it is really a bare bones browser, is iCab Mobile. iCab Mobile is just fantastic. It just does what you want, get you in, get you out. And I use that along with DuckDuckGo as my search engine. So that way I don't have to sweat somebody tracking where I'm going. Because the fact that I am looking for plumbing supplies, and then 3 websites later, all the ads popping up are plumbing supplies, I don't really like the fact that Google and Yahoo and Bing are all mining all my data while I'm online. And that's how they make their money. I won't begrudge them that. But there are times when I don't need that stuff popping up later on.
Still, you told me before you can't get rid of any of that stuff when they Google or all that puts it on here and it's stuck in your phone. You can't.
I'm sorry.
You know, I looked up some stuff and
So it keeps popping up. So if you change your search engine to a different one, so DuckDuckGo would probably be a great solution for you, because they promise that they will not track you. So that's the way to go from there. By clearing your browser cache out as well, that should also help dump some other stuff. Yes?
The subject of being tracked, on these browsers, if you enable private browsing, does that protect you?
No. What private browsing does is it just doesn't keep your history listed on the device. It does not prevent Google, Yahoo, Bing from tracking you. They are still able to track where you've gone, as well as your ISP is able to track you. So if you have Comcast, Huawei, AT&T, they have the ability to see where you've gone. They can track you down. If you want to prevent that from happening, that would be a different meeting topic. That would be on VPNs. And that would allow you to, if you were looking to browse anonymously, that would be the option for doing that. if you wanted to go that route. Yes, sir.
Please remain, name browser, so that's where it
It is called iCab Mobile.
goes. CAB.
Yep. Yep, it is just a really no frills, bare bone browser. I use it on the computer, I use it on my iPad, I have it on my iPhone,
CAB?
like a taxi, yeah, cab. Jim?
You should note about private browsing, that private only refers to what your browser does.
Right.
It doesn't do anything about Verizon sticking in tags in your packets that can be tracked.
Correct.
It doesn't have anything to do with what address you're using, which it can be tracked by anybody almost in the world. And it doesn't have anything to do with what data, who you connect to keeps.
Right. So my best explanation for private browsing is what I told my dad. If you're on your computer or on your iPad, in this case it's computer, if you're on there and you're going to Fidelity because you're looking up your financial data and you're seeing where everything is, and you leave the computer, you turn it, you quit the browser, and you go somewhere else, and one of the grandkids sits down and launches it and goes into the history, they can pull up the fact that you were logged into your Fidelity account. If you don't want that to happen, turn on private browsing. I would also tell people, especially during the holiday season, if you don't want your significant other to know what you're shopping for, turn on private browsing, because it won't keep track of it, it won't keep it in the history. And you can go do your shopping, order whatever you need to, hopefully to make them happy, and then you turn off private browsing, and they can't sit down at the computer and say, oh, where was he shopping? Yes, ma'am.
So with Clear the Cache, browser cache on iOS, are you talking about more than just closing that out of the pages you've been at?
Yes.
So how do you do that?
So you would go into, give me a second here. You would go into settings, and I believe it is under Safari. Let me just double check. If you scroll, so if you go into setting, or settings, general, or not, I'm sorry, not general, but just Safari, there is a window that lets you show clear history and website data. Do you see that? Okay, if you click on that, that'll flush it out. Here's the side effect. It flushes everything out. So if there are websites that you typically log into, it can flush out your password, and you'll have to enter your password again. So that would be a side effect that shouldn't be a big deal for most people, as long as they know where their password is. Okay? And then there is in that same section, there is the do not track that you can turn on. It's just a little bit up from there under privacy and security in Safari under settings. They don't have to honor that. So you can turn it on, but just realize that it's not something that where you're at, the websites you go to, they do not have to honor that. You're just making a request. And while some of them will honor that request, not all of them will. Yes?
So, I'm looking at something on Amazon.
Yep.
Half an hour later, I'm on Safari, and there's ads popping up for that item that I was just looking at.
Yep.
Are they pulling that from my cache?
Yep.
So if I did
Well, they're pulling it from the fact that you logged onto a website, you went to Amazon, and you were looking at plumbing supplies. And
so is private browsing or clearing my cache to fix that?
no. To fix that, you would want to choose a different search engine. The problem is Google is so good at finding that search that you're looking for so quickly that when you go to a different one like DuckDuckGo, it's slower. And again, people are impatient. And with being impatient, you don't want to wait, or I'm not getting the results I want on the page 1. Sometimes it's a case of you've got to go all the way to page 3 or 4 before you find the result you're looking for. Whereas Google has it so good that they just, there it is on that first page. Might be 2 or 3 things down, but it's there. So you have to determine what your trade-off is, you know, for your needs to do that.
Yeah, there's 2 browsers that I've come across. One is called AdBlock Plus.
Right.
The other one is FinChan is the name of the company, and it's Vital Security, which helps reduce your ads, and supposedly with Vital Security also knocks down traffic.
Okay. I'm not familiar with the second one. I am familiar with the first one.
It is for mobile only,
It is for mobile devices.
and it is on the App Store.
Okay. Did you catch that? Could you say that again? Which one it is?
Yeah, it's FINJAN, Vital Security, and it's for mobile only.
Okay. All right. Well,
FINJAN, Vital Security, all one word for Vital Security.
okay. Thank you very much for that. Hang on a sec. Okay. And then one of the last basic steps, how many people use gestures on their devices? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So gestures are 3-finger swipes, 4-finger swipes, doing things different ways. Okay, so in older iOSs, the multi-gesture or the multitasking gestures could slow things down because it's trying to anticipate you doing a 3-finger swipe, whether you're going left or right or up or down. And so a lot of people would suggest turning that off if you don't use it as a way to get a little benefit of speed while you're using that device. First up, so more advanced steps on your iOS devices. When you search for something on your phone or your iPad, are you using the search field in the app, or are you using it on a global level? So a global level would be the first screen when you can swipe to the right. When you're on your main screen, you swipe to the right and you get your search field. If you do a search in that one, that's searching the entire phone. And it's looking for everything there. Different than if you're in Mail and you do a search in Mail. If you do the search in just the Mail program, that's the only place it's looking. If you do it on the global level, it is searching everything on your device. So it's looking at all the different apps for whatever that keyword is that you typed in for the search. So if you don't want that, you can, again, settings, general, spotlight search, and turn off unwanted items. And the unwanted items can be whatever program you don't want it to be searching through. So if there's a weather app in there, it doesn't make sense to have search the weather app when you're looking for something in a different program, whether it's in Mail, or maybe it was Safari, or maybe it was Pages. So you can turn those other things off. That will, this is a deeper dig, but that will help you as well. This is my own personal pet peeve, notifications. Most apps, when you install them, ask you, do you want to receive notifications? And they ask you how you want to receive them. This is very similar to, say, a startup item or a login item on your computer. So it does take a little bit away from the resources when you're getting into your device and you're doing things. To turn them off, we would open up settings yet again and go to notifications. And from there, you can pick what you want to give you notifications, and it gives you the options of, do you want just that little thing to pop down from the top? Do you want it in the center of the screen? Do you want it to take over everything when you get an update? That drives me crazy. So from there, you can say, pick any of those or none, and then adjust them or delete them even for what you want. Location services are very, very useful for certain things. You don't need them for every app to have location services running, because with location services running on every app that you have, one, you're chewing battery life because it's keeping track of where you are. Settings, privacy, location services. And then there, you can choose what you would like to disable. At the top of this, there is a button that lets you disable everything. That's not a good choice. And the reason it's not a good choice is if you believe in using Find My iPad or Find My iPhone, you have now disabled that. And that's going to make your life possibly frustrating, because if you misplace your phone, you can't go to iCloud and say, where was it last? And it won't tell you that you left it at so-and-so's house. That's different. So I highly recommend, and this is my personal preference, weather-related apps, Safari, Maps, as well as Find My Phone. Those are the big four that I recommend keep location services on. I think Maps speaks for itself, because you got to know where you are if you're trying to get directions. Safari is a good one as well. And the weather, obviously, that just makes sense. I'm sorry?
Where do you find location services?
So location services is under settings, privacy, and then location services.
Does that show you all your apps?
Yes, it will. So privacy is, so if you see where general is, it's at the bottom of that window. And location services is right up at the top. And when you turn that on, it gives you the option of, while using the app, which I think is a good one, never, or always. So you have those options to go from there. So I would highly recommend that you pick and choose what you want and go from there, because while WebMD is a really great app, does it need to know where you are? I don't think so. So.
Yeah, in regards to the location services and that whole slew, all of mine are right arrow except for location services. That means all of them are off.
I believe so.
Well, you have to actually touch location services to go in the single list.
Correct. Yep, if you tap on it,
We
it'll.
haven't gone in deep enough. I can look at a different list.
Okay. So if you get to, so settings, privacy, location services, tap on it and it'll give you that long list. There's also one in there for share my location, and you can either have that on or off. Share location is wonderful if you are at Disney World, because everyone else in your group can know where you are. But when you leave Disney World, turn it off, because then they know where you are.
So is while using, is that when it has its front center? Or
Yes, while you're in the app, not while it's in the background. So those are choices that you can pick from.